First, you need to know what type of soil that you have. Different soil types retain different amounts of water. You can think of it in terms of a gas tank. Some tanks hold more, some hold less, and it's the same with soil types. There are basically three kinds of soil types: sand, silt, and clay, and everything and anything in between. Here's a chart that illustrates the many different soil types that there are. For simplicity, I'm going to generalize and say that most all Treasure Valley soils are between a silt loam and a clay loam. Silt and clay-like soils that we have in the Treasure Valley roughly retain 1 to 1.2 inches of water. Remember to think of it like a gas tank. 1 to 1.2 inches of water is the maximum amount of water that your soil will retain. The goal is that every time you water, you want to fill up the tank or the soil to its maximum level. And then we want to allow it to be slowly used until it's empty, and then we fill it right back up again. A good way to remember this is to memorize the mantra that you need to water your lawn deeply and infrequently. There are many, many benefits of using this method. The first one is that grass roots need oxygen to survive. If your lawn is wet all the time, it will drown. It needs to be dry to allow oxygen back into the soil. The second thing is that roots follow moisture. As the top part of your soil dries out, roots follow the water deep. As grass roots elongate, they will be better able to take in more moisture, nutrients, and oxygen. With a deeper root system, your lawn will also be more naturally healthy and drought resistant. The third thing is that by watering deeply and infrequently, you can avoid fungus and disease. When you water your lawn every day, your lawn will be, big surprise, wet all the time, resulting in fungus problems. If you took one thing from this video, it would be this: please don't water every day. Now that we know that we have to put 1 to 1.2 inches of water on your lawn, the next step is to know how exactly to do that. The first thing that we need to do is do a sprinkler test. First, turn on a sprinkler zone. Take a look at every head to make sure it's working properly. Then examine each sprinkler to see if you have proper and uniform coverage. You can notice that the sprinkler in the video needs to be adjusted to get the grass on the right. Make your adjustments as necessary. Now turn off your sprinklers. Now you want to find something that you can measure the amount of water that your sprinkler system is putting out. Here's a little sour cream container. Just about anything will do though, anything with straight sides and a flat bottom. And then find a place to put that in your lawn. Like I'd mentioned, almost anything else will do. Here's a soup can you can use. Like I said, just anything with straight sides and a flat bottom. So put that container in your lawn where the sprinklers are going to get at it and turn the sprinklers on. Now you need to set a timer for 30 minutes and let your sprinklers be on for that amount of time. After 30 minutes, turn off the water. And now you want to grab a straight piece of wood and also a tape measure. Grab your container with the water in it. Take your piece of wood and dip it in there so you can get a line of where the moisture was. Take a measuring tape and measure the amount of water that was on there. As you can see here, it looks like we got about 1.5 inches of water. So in about a half an hour, this sprinkler set put out 1.5 inches of water. At this point, we could feel pretty good about ourselves just keeping it at the 30 minutes for this particular zone. 1 inch to 1.5 inches, that's, like we said, 1 inch to 1.2 inches is where we want it to be, but it's all pretty close. If you go over a little bit, there's no harm done there. So at this point, you just want to make sure you make that same test for every single sprinkler zone that you have. Turning it on, making adjustments, turning it back off, putting your measurement down, setting a timer for 30 minutes, and then measuring the amount of water that you have after that, and then making some simple calculations to be able to know how much time you need to run your sprinklers in order to get 1 inch to 1.2 inches of water on your grass. So now you know how long to run your sprinklers to completely fill the soil profile. Now we'll talk about how often to fill up. Now we need to remember the phrase that we had mentioned earlier: deeply and infrequently. The idea is that we want to wait as long as we can before watering again. Experts use a concept called evapotranspiration to determine how much a plant uses in a given day. Here is a chart that the Idaho Department of Ag put out that shows average daily water usage throughout the year. You can see that how often you water has to do with the time of the year. For example, you can see that on the left in April, your grass is only using about 1/10 of an inch per day. So in April, you should water your lawn every 10 days or so. Keep in mind that rain factors in, so make sure to account for precipitation. Another example is that you can see in the hot months of July and August that your grass is using basically a quarter of an inch per day. So after some simple math, we realize that in 4 days, your lawn will use up about an inch of water. So we should water every 4 to 5 days or so. If this gets complicated for you, let me offer you a simplified version. From April to mid-May, water your lawn once a week. From mid-May to mid-September, water every 4 to 5 days. From mid-September to October, water once a week again. Make sure to always factor in precipitation in your watering schedules.